Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's Rekt Capital here. Hope you're having a fantastic day and welcome to today's episode. Today is going to be a market review of large caps, Bitcoin, also a few other altcoins as well. And we're going to be focusing on their larger macro scale perspectives. What are they doing right now? What could they do in the short term? But ultimately, what are they doing in the broader perspective? So let's dive right in, and of course I'd like to briefly mention Nimiq here, who sponsored the article, and Nimiq is an interesting one. I also cover Nimiq's TA in this article because they have a lot of fundamental catalysts that have been working in their favor to really promote an exponential rally in the price action of the NIM token. And Nimiq is basically a cryptocurrency that allows you to connect to the blockchain, and it doesn't require any software to connect to the blockchain. It doesn't need a third-party node to access the Nimiq payment network, much like Bitcoin or Ethereum need, and they have a lot of interesting events. Ones we'll talk about in a bit more detail later on in the video, but in today's analysis we're going to be focusing on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, as well as Nimiq, but also Chainlink and VeChain. So when it comes to Bitcoin's price action, 9,650 is the key reference point for price in terms of directional bias. We are currently below this level, and rejections from this point have led to bearish trend reversals. And so have failed retest attempts. So last week we got a failed retest attempt, something that's better seen over here. So this weekly close above 9,650 occurred. We saw a bit of an overextension, something that tends to happen when we tend to close above this level, as we see this overextension over here and also over here in this FOMO wick. But ultimately we failed to keep this level as a support. So we broke down and now we're recovering, and this relief rally could be just that, a relief rally to turn 9,650 into a resistance. Should that happen upon weekly close, we'll see this black pathway really pan out. But we have to bear in mind that this is just a weekly range for Bitcoin, as we'll see in the next chart right over here, because on a macro scale, Bitcoin is merely consolidating within a 8,700 to 9,650 range. So essentially for 7 weeks it's been just doing this, right? So upon breakout we can be a bit more bullish, and upon breakdown we could be a bit more bearish, but until then it's just consolidating, guys. Nothing to get too euphoric about when it comes to the bullish stance, nothing to be overly pessimistic about when it comes to the bearish view. So ultimately, consolidation for Bitcoin. A confirmed break past 9,650 would lead price to a revisit of this supply zone, but if we get a breakdown in the next few weeks, we'll probably see a retrace back into this region, which would be an interesting one, 7,770. But until then, really just consolidating. We just need to watch for confirmations past either this level or this level. We are currently near the range high of this range, but at the moment this could have just been a relief rally just to test it as a resistance once again before further downside. So that's still in progress. We're going to be watching out for how that turns out in the future. But having said that, let's move on to the main large cap in the space, Ethereum. And at the moment, this is looking quite good. We are maintaining the 217 level, the 230 level, and these are two supports that Bitcoin, or at least Ethereum, needs to close above on the weekly time frame so as to enable a challenge of these highs right over here. And once it can take out these highs, we'll see a return to this black diagonal resistance, which is the resistance that Ethereum would need to break for it to return to the top of this ascending triangle, which is the lower 300 levels. So essentially speaking, on the short term, it needs to keep these support levels so that it could potentially rebound back to this level right over here. On the macro scale, however, we have this macro ascending triangle, which is pretty fantastic because we can see that on the macro scale, Ethereum is just consolidating within a bullish ascending triangle. So much to look forward to in the coming months for Ethereum, especially with Ethereum 2.0 coming up, which of course we could see a buy the rumor, sell the news effect taking place. So we've seen the buy the hype by the rumor effect over here, a bit of consolidation, and now we could be seeing a bit of sell side action, especially upon revisiting this region over here. So whatever the case may be, the closer we get to Ethereum 2.0, the closer we get to a potential sell side reaction from sellers, because we tend to see buy the hype, buy the rumor, and sell the news. So until then, however, until July comes around, we can still see this sort of price action pan out. And when we consider Ethereum BTC, also an interesting pattern, very clear market structure over here, but we couldn't really break out from here on good volume. We've just been consolidating here for Ethereum BTC, just meandering along the black diagonal. That is a key resistance, a point of rejection in the past for Ethereum on 4 separate occasions. 1, 2, 3, and 4, let's say, and even if you want to classify this one as a 5th one. But in any case, we've seen this as a point of rejection, but now we've actually flipped this level into support. The problem is we haven't seen buy side volume come in. Once it does, we'll get a retest attempt, a successful retest attempt, which would drive price to this level. And if you guys just try to take away everything from this chart, just try and take away the fact that we're in this market structure, try and take away that this red order block right over here is a key vantage point for Ethereum BTC, try and understand that this is a double bottom formation with a potential handle happening right over here. So this could actually be a cup and handle, but ultimately what I want to stress to you guys is that this blue level over here is the validation point for that structure. So even if we do see some volume come in from the buyers, reaching price to this level, we still need a confirmed breakout past this level, turning this into a new support so as to validate this cup and handle double bottom like formation, and that would really start a new trend off for Ethereum BTC. So that's something that I'm looking for. Of course, guys, you can read a bit more detail about my analysis in the article itself. It's in the description down below, so feel free to go ahead and do that. Litecoin USD consolidating in a $8 range from 80, or at least 40.80 to 48.80 as well. So $8 range, price compression occurring in this triangle, which is within that range. And at the moment, I'd like this triangle bottom to hold, because if it can't, we'll probably see a return to $40.80 for a support test for some market reaction, which is quite likely at this point. But that would be the bearish view. The bullish view, of course, is a breakout from this structure after holding this base properly on the weekly candle. So a weekly candle close above this blue uptrend line would be fantastic to just keep this structure and potentially break out later on. And if it does break out, I'd watch for this blue trajectory to take place. But ultimately, we need to keep this formation, because if we can't, Litecoin will revisit $40.80 for a reaction from that point. But in any case, we're just seeing a lot of consolidation for Litecoin, and that's the main thing for its price at the moment. Consolidation, we just need to have that trend confirmation. But let's cycle back to Nimiq, an uninterrupted uptrend ever since breaking from this accumulation zone. And the thing is, on a technical scale, we have to bear in mind that there could be a rejection from here. And I think in the new chart from today, there was actually a strong pullback. Something I mentioned in the article, that on a technical perspective, NIM is currently at a strong historical resistance, and that is definitely the case. This is a strong point of rejection, and a weekly close above there would be fantastic just to enable a 34% rally within what is a larger range right over here. But of course, we got that rejection because it is important to emphasize that NIM hasn't really experienced a deeper pullback, and should it break, or at least fail to break that level, which it has based on the chart today, a healthier retrace towards the black dash region could become a real possibility, and that's the region that I'm talking about in the article. So we have seen a rejection to around this region at the moment, but this is the level that we probably will see NIM retrace towards. But of course, we have to also mention that this level right over here is a strong market reaction point. So even if we can't really hold here, we'll probably see some market reaction over here. But if we can't really reverse from this point, this level would be very interesting for a stronger reaction point, because this tends to be a strong source of support, as we've seen here, right? We've seen a strong exponential uptrend upon rebounding from here. So that would be an interesting level to hit if we get it. But of course, this is the region that I'm watching for in the meantime. But in any case, this whole uptrend has been owed to the fundamental catalysts that have really catalyzed this recent uptrend, and that ties in with what we'll be seeing from Oasis, which will be launching this year, a non-custodial technology that will help users seamlessly convert their fiat to both Bitcoin and a native NIM token serving as digital cash. But on top of that, we'll also see a emission reduction. So not a block this is actually a mistake from my part, which I'll just change after the video, but an emission reduction, which is slightly different, but this will also make the coin actually a little bit more scarce in the short term. So that's something to point out and mention. But also, Nimiq will be transitioning to a proof of stake consensus later this year. So lots of great fundamentals for Nimiq in the future, which really contributed to that strong rally from Nimiq in the price action. But this is Chainlink. Moving on. Chainlink, I've looked at Chainlink in two perspectives, the USD pairing and the BTC pairing, and it's really a tale of triangles, really. The Link USD pair has a triangle on the macro scale, and it's just trying to maintain these highs. It has to hold 385 really as a support, just to try and challenge for this black diagonal, just to break it. And ultimately it has to close above 447 to really break out from this triangle, from this macro structure, and continue its uptrend. Because if it can't break from this black diagonal, we're going to see a lot of stress and pressure be placed on 385, and that's something that we wouldn't really want to see. At least the bulls wouldn't really want to see that, because if this level breaks down, we'll actually be able to short Link into this range right over here. So we could actually short it all the way towards the bottom of this range over here. But in any case, we just have to see whether this portion of price action will actually turn into a descending triangle at highs. But a little bit more detail here in the article. On the BTC pairing, another triangle, but a little bit more promising. So it needs to breach this dotted horizontal resistance right over here and claim it as a support. Claim it as a support so that it can springboard to just revisit this black diagonal. So a bit of promise over here. This uptrend line dating to the beginning of 2020, holding nicely ever since. This is a very strong uptrend line, and as long as it's not lost, we probably will see this reclaim and continuation towards this region. So the BTC pair looks much better than the USD pair for Chainlink. And the last coin right over here, VeChain, requested by you guys on Twitter. VeChain has a double bottom like formation in progress, doubling since really its second bottom in early May, bottoming out and then doubling ever since, and it needs to confirm itself above these two blue horizontals if it wants to validate this structure, and validating this structure would lead to a strong exponential uptrend for VeChain, which would be fantastic. But until then, we are at a significant point of rejection. You can actually see a lot of price action, a lot of historical price action at this point in time, which only showcases that we have a lot of potential bag holders holding VET from this point, and these bag holders would be very keen to unload and break even. So that could potentially be a problem for people FOMOing into VET at this point in time. So we just need to see this market psychology shift from being a point of sell-side momentum to a source of demand by testing it into a new support so as to springboard VET into a new uptrend. In any case, guys, that's about it for today's market review. I hope you enjoyed it. You can, of course, read the market review in a bit more detail by visiting in the link down below. I'd like to personally thank Nimiq for sponsoring this market review. You can check out their website in the description down below, and of course, join their engaged Telegram community. Link is in the description down below as well. But in any case, thank you so much for watching today, guys. Please consider dropping a like if you enjoyed the video, and of course subscribe for more videos like this in the future. I'm Rekt Capital, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Speak soon.